How is everyone doing? I hope everyone's doing okay. Hey, Cozy Jones, home from Fort Myers, Florida. Hope you guys are doing okay down there. I heard you guys went through a very dry winter, and you guys are suffering from drought conditions this summer. I know it's right about 100 degrees here in Southern California. We're looking at 100 degrees every day this coming week, and we're getting what we call those subtropical humidity here, which is rare in Southern California, but I guess there's been a few tropical or storms down in the Pacific off of the coast of Mexico, which has given us a unusual higher than normal humidity factor here. As always, I want to ask anybody who can give me a thumbs up on the audio. I want to make sure the audio is good and I'm not talking to myself and you guys are not getting feedback or anything. And I appreciate that. Someone give me a thumbs up in the chat to make me make sure the audio is good. I hate to pay for this gear and I still got crappy audio. We got a few people here in the chat, probably a few more lurking. If you want to say hi, whatever the case may be, chat amongst yourself. If you got questions on any of the information that is going on, appreciate that, Cozy Drone. If you got questions about any information I may cover, feel free to ask it in the chat. Like I tell everyone, I don't know everything that's out there, but I sure can find out or I know where to look it up. So, yeah, been around the drone industry for coming up on a decade here in a couple of years. Started back around 2017, 18. Yeah, so seen a lot, been through a lot. And like I said, I've been a commercial operator uh, since day one. As I bought my first drone, I was studying for my Part 107 simultaneously and took it and passed it in 2019. So, yeah, been involved, done a lot of work. Uh, Part of my job, when I originally started using drones, I was a commercial inspector on the big tilt up buildings that were going through a big building boom here in Southern California over the past decade. Things are slowing down a little bit now, and that's where I started my drone work, was doing inspections, especially in the MPDS area. So yeah, I've been using drones to, if you don't know what MPDS, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, which basically means I covered everything from all the drainage systems, basins, things of that nature, as far as dealing with commercial operations and also large housing developments to make sure that the water drainage was according to plan and it stayed according to plan. I had my authority at the time was driven from the Clean Air Act from 1972, I want to say, which gave me the authority to conduct those inspections, gave me the authority to shut down job sites if I needed to, and also have people removed from job site if they failed to cooperate with my orders or just ignored what I had to say. So I had a little bit of say so on job sites. And even today, over the last 5 years now, been the safety officer for the city of San Bernardino here in Southern California. And I basically make sure that we stay in compliance with our OSHA, Cal OSHA regulations. I do investigations with accidents involving city vehicles and also city property. Also, conduct our DOT program, which means our drug program for all of our CDL drivers in the city. So there's a lot of things I get involved with as far as rules and regulations. So that's why I say if I don't know the information off the top of my head, I can pretty much know where to find it and get it back to you in a timely manner and stuff. Appreciate Drone Shots being here first in the chat, ready to go. Appreciate that. And welcome to everybody else that is here. If you could tell by the title page, just going to focus on some more things that are happening in the drone community on both really on the hobbyist side. The hobbyist side is getting hammered. I mean, literally hammered. Commercial side, for the most part, we're still operating or can operate in our normal manner, which is still at a much higher level for some of the rules and regulations under Part 107 that we need to abide by. But those you guys who are still in the hobbyist area, you're on the clock. Just to put it bluntly, you're on the clock. If you have not heard within the last week and a half about the FCC's decision to basically retro ban, which is, and I said that retro with emphasis because this is something that a lot of influencers, reviewers, and other folks out there said this would never happen. And I'm the type person, never say never. Because when you're dealing with the government, they control the environment. And I'm not talking about the everyday sunshine up. They control everything, every aspect of what's going on. And like I said, these guys don't play fair. If the FAA don't get you, the FCC can get you. Or Customs and Border Protection can get you. 3 different agencies that have been hammering uh, the drone community at their own merit. You know, we go back 2 years ago when things were not coming in through reports. You know, people were waiting 4 or 5 months, waiting for their items to get through. I think the FAA came down a year ago, almost a year ago, with their regulations and their list of future drones. Cozy Drone asked about if the Mini 6 Pro comes out and the FCC does not approve, uh, will it be a federal offense to fly the Mini 6 when it comes out? This is something I discussed over a year ago, 2 years ago, when Remote ID was just coming out. Remote ID would be out 2 years come September. And this is something I talked about, and I discussed it then about if drones don't get FCC approval, they technically will be illegal to operate in the U.S. Now, like everybody says, well, you know, the FAA don't have the personnel and all this kind of stuff to enforce these rules and regulations. And I warned people then, a lot of folks ignored what the LEAP program was all about. And it stands for Law Enforcement Assistance Program. And it's right there in the acronym, Law Enforcement Assistance Program, where the FAA don't have to go hire agents to speak of and investigators. They have already deputized all local PD and sheriffs. They already got it in place. They are to assist. So not that they will always are mandated to confiscate, but if that drone is part of the evidence factor, which means they need the footage off that drone or the drone itself or whatever the case may be, they can collect it and confiscate it, and you may not get it returned to you. All right? And so now you got hundreds of thousands of officers who are the agents of the FAA. Okay? And that brings us now to the FCC. A lot of this stuff is not what we call frontline crimes, as we used to say when I was a police officer. These are all after the fact. We call enhancements. You know, we would have a crime occur. Say you had a drive-by shooting occur. Okay? There's a specific crime for shooting a weapon out of a vehicle. Okay? Now, if you happen to be shooting into a dwelling, that's a secondary crime, that you're shooting into a dwelling. And if you find out you were involved or associate with known gang members or gang-related type of, activities, that's what we call a gang enhancement, which means that the sentencing can be higher. Okay? So from the frontline crime of one thing happening, you go to another crime, and then you have enhancements. Something that you're flying that doesn't have FCC approval is kind of like the fact that what we've seen, even with this World Cup that has just ended, out of these some 700 to over 1,000 plus drones that were actually caught, confiscated, whatever the case may be, 9 times out of 10, those same individuals were not registered. The drone was not registered. Okay, if it needed to be. A lot of drones were probably mini drones. But like I say, now here's the catch. If you were caught flying, trying to get footage of whatever soccer match or whatever public event, that is not recreational flying. So now you get the enhancement of you flying in violation of Part 107. Hey, how you doing? God bless America. Glad you're here. So like I say, these are all extra enhancements, and it kind of stacks up. It stacks up one thing or another. And this is why the FAA got slick. And now they have what we call the DTIR program. And basically, it is a plea bargain program that if you agree to whatever admission of what you are in violation of, you're at the mercy of their adjudication. And what that means is they can fine you for whatever they want to fine you. And like I said, there is no more mercy anymore. This is no more first offense. You get one shot, one strike, they're hammering you. So you have to understand that once you agree to this program, you may get something small, like a small $1,000 fine or less, or you can get hammered with $20,000 fine or more. Then once again, depending on the severity of the amount of violations that you have fallen under, you may get several different things that's why I say the amount of the fine can vary to a very extreme to very small and everything else. A lot of it's going to depend upon the circumstances of when you were encountered. And everybody talks about, well, I live here, live there, whatever case may be. But like I said, the federal government, Homeland Security, spent over $10 million buying anti-drone equipment. And they were issued out this equipment to local law enforcement and for themselves to operate this equipment near these public events. And this was just for the World Cup. It was kind of like the rollout. So in turn, and I said this before, I said it this last month, these anti-drone systems will be deployed by local law enforcement agencies. If you want to know a good example, go try to fly a drone in Las Vegas, especially near the Strip, or by Allegiant Stadium, or by pretty soon the brand new A's Stadium, which is right off the Strip. Go fly a drone down there anytime and see how quickly law enforcement will show up before you can even bring that drone back down. You'll have one or two officers meeting you at the point of return to home. So like I say, Vegas has been doing it for at least 2 to 3 years. So they are, I would say, the model of how effective this system is. I think, matter of fact, I believe when the first F1 race happened in Las Vegas is when they started deploying it full time. So like I say, and they caught people each year doing the Formula One race in November. So now you got, like I said, you got the Allegiant Stadium for the Raiders. Pretty soon the A's will be playing there, their new stadium right off the Strip. And like I say, there's always big events in the Vegas area. So this is going to be something that will be deployed, especially in college areas. It's going to be used by those law enforcement agencies. It's going to be used for big events like Rose Bowl parades and Macy's parades and things of that nature. Anytime you may have a large gathering of people for a large event, airports will probably be getting it on a regular basis. Some already have it, but now they will work together with either airport authority officers, if that's what they have there, or they probably will combine their efforts with the local law enforcement to enforce these rules and regulations of no-fly zones or restricted fly zones in the area. And speaking of New York, they have probably one of the most restrictive airspace besides Washington, D.C. in the entire country. I'd say the lower 48 states. And so it's tough. It's really tough. And as we said for years, it's not impossible to fly in these spaces. You just got to jump through a few hoops. Unfortunately in New York, you got to pay a little bit of money. But even in Washington, D.C., you just got to jump through a few hoops, submit the right paperwork for authorization, sometimes actual waiver approval, and everything else. And what I'm hearing through the grapevine, as far as we talk about waiver approvals and things, Part 108 could be coming out within the next 90 days or so. We'll see. But like I said before, when I first heard about Part 108 over a year and a half ago, I tried to tell people then Part 108 was never intended for hobbyists. It was mainly intended for commercial operations. And even then, it was specifically intended for drone delivery operators. Some of us commercial operators can still probably get it and will use it for extended, photogrammetry type work, things of that nature. But it was basically intended for delivery drones because that's specifically the type of operations that they do beyond visual line of sight. Not to say it's impossible for a hobbyist to get it, but you're going to have some real strong, I would say, narrative to the FAA to allow you to operate. Some people have even got it for across the country. Wherever they go, they have the waiver for beyond visual line of sight. But like I say, most of the people who have it are commercial operators. God Bless America talked about, in his opinion, it's just more government overreach. Well, that's what the government has always been, is someone who overreaches, restricts, protects, and as certain things are protected, people on the other side say that the government is overreaching and overregulating. So there's, like I said, there's two sides to every coin. Some folks want things protected. Other folks say, we need to have less regulation. And like I say, there's a lot of things that are going on. Hey, East Coast, how you doing? There's a lot of things going on also that you guys need to pay attention to. And this affects just about every state where you may live. And it's coming down. And I just tell people, go read this stuff for yourself. Don't depend upon people like me, people like Russ over 51 Drones and a few other influencers out there to spoon feed you what we think might be the important parts. I encourage you to always go read it for yourself. And the reason why I'm saying this is that in a lot of the language that the FAA is putting out, a lot of the language the FCC is putting out, and so forth, is giving authority, to individual states to declare what they want to have as critical infrastructure. Now, me coming from a background 20 years in construction related, know that infrastructure can be a wide variety of things. A lot of times when people talk about infrastructure, they're thinking these large dams, large nuclear facilities, larger power plants, things of that nature. But I'm here to inform you, infrastructure can be anything from a small substation. It could be a water treatment plant. It could be a sewage treatment plant. It could be a cement factory. So you get what I'm saying? It could be any, basically, facility that manufactures from raw materials or produces materials from raw things can be considered critical infrastructure. Just like airports, they fall under critical infrastructure. And that might be not just the major airports. It could be your mom and pop private one down the road if they have the right connections with the state or even with the feds to say, hey, this is Senator or Congressman so-and-so airport where he flies in every time he comes home. Well, guess what? Now he goes talk to some of his buddies that may owe him a few favors and say, well, I want my airport to be considered critical infrastructure because I don't want to have no incidents for me when I fly home and all this kind of stuff, or my friends when they're flying, that they got to be concerned about drones being in the airspace. So that's what I'm saying. You got to go read this stuff for yourself. Pay attention to what your state is doing, and even lower then, pay attention to what your county and your city is doing. When they talk about regulations, especially airspace regulations, things of that nature, because you could be impacted. And that's why I always tell people, and folks talk about, why do we get upset, or why do certain individuals get upset when some guy flies over a wildfire, flies over some accident that police are there trying to help people out, and they got to shut down all their aerial support from fixed wing aircraft dropping flame retardant, water drops. You may have a life flight coming in to pick up the injured from an accident, and somebody with a drone who feel like they want to get some information so they can send to the local TV station so they can get credit. These things not only impact those first responders, it impacts those who may be involved, and it also impacts all the rest of us in the drone community. Because we may not be the one that was doing it, but now we get grouped in, just like with this World Cup. We all got grouped in. Irregardless that you or I may not have been there or did any of these violations, we got lumped in. Like it or not, we got lumped in. Like it or not, it might have been an FPV pilot. We got grouped in. Like it or not, it might be a camera drone guy. Like it or not, it might have been a fixed wing RC plane and stuff. And it's kind of crazy, especially when we hear about the airline pilots claiming that it was a drone at 3,000 and 5,000 feet, which we know normally anything off the shelf doesn't fly that high unless it's been modified. Okay? But that's the first thing they say. That's the story they stick with. And guess what? We all get grouped in there, irregardless, because they don't come back and say, "Oh, further investigation and interviewing the pilots. It was only a metallic balloon, and it wasn't an actual drone that they saw." But the word was drone involvement, and we all get lumped in. And that's the sad part. Because like I said, most of these airports have the anti-drone systems at play. And first thing I say is, did we pick up anything on the radar? Something flying at 5,000 feet. Somebody should have picked it up at that point. Somebody should have picked it up. So that's what my concern is. Is that, this is why we have to, in a word, police our own. Even though people might say, "Oh, why are you doing this? It's harmless." I said, no, it's never harmless when it can impact so many other people. It's never harmless when you have the potential to impact the hundreds of thousands of other people's lives. And that's not just talking drone people. I mean, like I say, people right now from Canada, all across the Midwest, Colorado especially, wildfires, out of control and stuff. We deal with it constantly here in Southern California, wildfires. And when people don't understand or failing to understand, and even I see it in chat groups a lot, when I hear people say, "Well, I thought it was a TFR, then why did I see drones by the PD flying? Why did I see drones by the fire department flying?" A TFR is a temporary flight restriction for all unauthorized drones, or I should say aircraft, period, unauthorized. PD, firefighters are using drones to fight fires, to assist officers to whatever they're doing. They are authorized. So when a TFR gets placed, they already are authorized to operate within the TFR. So it's basically, if you are not authorized to be in a TFR, you're in violation. Not the police, or even those who are working for the police, or those who may be flying for the fire department, and where the case may be. They are authorized to operate within the TFR because they are part of the coordination of the firefighting event. Okay? And that's what people kind of don't understand, is that there are ways. And it's like, I remember right before the World Cup was starting, there were several advertisements going throughout the drone community asking people, did they want to join up? Did they want to fly for the purpose of providing security, assistance, and other things for the World Cup? So if you wanted to fly in the World Cup, you had an opportunity. You could have got hired. You could have, whatever the case might have been. So you would have been authorized to fly in the TFR. And that's what the difference is are you authorized or not? If you're not authorized, you are not allowed to fly in a TFR. But others may have got authorization. We see it all the time now. I was just watching Formula One this morning at the Hungarian Grand Prix. They had a drone inside on the track, flying along just inside the track, along the cars and stuff. That person is authorized. Now, somebody outside the track, or somebody in the stand might have brought a drone who was not authorized, that individual would have been stopped, probably arrested, drone confiscated, and escorted out of the event because they were not authorized. So that's what I'm saying. When I hear those comments, and I just tell people all the time, that just lets me know people are still not, in 2026, people are still not really informed of the rules and regulations as much as they should be. I think a lot of us only get what we get from podcasts like mine. I see Johnny's in here, shows like Johnny's, shows like, say, like 51 Drones, even Ken Heron, whatever. They pick up on tidbits, but they don't immerse themselves in what all they should know. Like I said, I go back to the days where you had to get authorization to get the drone released from DJI. And, I remember people used to majorly complain because DJI was the only ones that were making you go get these authorizations to unlock the drone. You didn't have to do it Autel. You didn't have to do it Unique. Didn't have to do it with Parrot. Everybody else was just letting you fly willy-nilly. Well, DJI finally says, enough's enough. We're not going to be held accountable any longer. We'll let you guys just, be accountable for yourselves. And for the most part, things have done pretty good, for the most part. But like I say again, it usually are those who, I just say 9 times out of 10, if the drone was required to be registered, it ain't registered. The individual operating the drone don't have a trust test listed anywhere, and they're not registered. So 2 strikes right there. Did not try to get authorization because you probably had to get registered one way or another to be granted authorization for doing something. Because like I said again, You're not flying recreationally if you're trying to cover an event. Even if it's just a large gathering of an event, that's not a recreational flight. That's a Part 107 flight. And that's why I explain to people all the time, Part 107 is about compensation, but it's not just the compensation part. If you're doing things that requires authorization, if you're doing things that you're doing outside of what a recreational flight is, like I said, you're flying beyond visual line of sight, things of that nature, you're now flying under Part 107 rules. And your flight could be classified as that. So that's why I'm saying that even if you're saying that, okay, I'm here at my local park and I'm flying around here and I decide to switch up and I'm going to start chasing boats. You had just stepped out of recreational flying to chasing boats would classify you being flying under Part 107. Not that you're being compensated, but it is not recreational anymore when you're tracking something of that nature. I hope you follow what I'm saying here. Is that, recreational flying is just that. Doesn't matter if you're recording, doesn't matter if you're just goofing around, whatever the case may be. But like everybody said, it's the purpose of the flight. If the purpose of your flight was to go chase cars, go chase boats, go chase this, go follow people, things of that nature, you are no longer recreational flying anymore. You are now flying under Part 107 rules. Okay? You're flying under Part 107 rules. So what would happen is, if something were to happen, if your drone collided with somebody or with something, okay, you somehow interfered with something with your drone, you would be, part of your charges would be flying under Part 107 rules without you being Part 107. So that's why I say that you need to be careful in what you do when you're flying. And that's what people kind of don't grasp a lot of time. That's why I always encourage them, go read the section of recreational pilot. What constitutes a recreational flight? Okay? You need to figure out what are the limitations of a recreational flight. Because once you go beyond those parameters, you are now in Part 107, regardless if you get paid or not. Because of the type of flying that you're doing, you have just stepped over under Part 107. And that's why I think a lot of people are not really grasping the difference. They just think, well, I'm not getting paid for it, and my channel's not monetized, and out of this and that. I said, no. That doesn't even matter. It's the purpose of the flight. If you're just flying up, having fun, flying through the sky, look at the sun, look at the moon, whatever the case may be, that's recreational stuff. But when you have intent of following, tracking, chasing, whatever the thing may be, you had stepped out of the recreational realm into the Part 107 realm. So that's why I say, like I say, may not ever have an incident, may not ever have a problem. But if you do not be surprised if you get that thrown in your face. So that's why I say, go read the FAA section under recreational flying and read what it says, what they consider recreational flight is. And then go read what they say Part 107 flight is. And then you'll have a better understanding of what you're doing when you're in the air and so forth. I've been rambling on here. Let me take a break, and we're going to do a couple quick commercials.
Data. When your flight data matters.
To be the best, you have to train with the best. Pilot Institute.
All righty. We are back. I'm about to wind this up. Let me say a quick thank you to a few folks who came in, like East Coast and Johnny Drone Flyer came in and stuff. And I hope everyone has enjoyed what I've had to say. You guys now can see all my medications and stuff that I'm on now due to my illness a while back. But I'm still kicking. I'm all right and stuff. But yeah, that's what I have for you today. The 26th day of July. Man, time is creeping on. Those who talk with me on a regular basis know I am probably going to be retiring by the end of this year, if not sooner. December should be my last time. Not last time, but I will be ending my work with the city, and I will become a honey-do list operator for the most part, and spend more time working with my drones. I posted some pictures on Facebook with me tuning up my GNSS systems. I have the DJI RTK2 system, and I have MLIT system, RS2 Plus MLIT system that I use when I go out, when I had that type of work. And I try to explain to people when I have downtime, that is what I do. I break out equipment because last time I used the GNSS system from MLIT was probably last November. So I need to break out that equipment, just like we do our drones, make sure the firmware is up to date. And if it is new firmware, and just like our drones, when you update firmware, 9 times out of 10, it has reset all of your settings. So you need to go back through and make sure all of your settings are where you like them to be or where you remember them being. Because it could be a pain in the butt when you're out in the field and you wonder why this system's not talking to that system and everything else. And I've said this, if not once, I've said it 100 times. Time is money when you're out in the field. You don't want to waste time trying to figure out a 5-second problem, and you're wasting an hour because you don't remember, because last time you had it out was several months ago. And I tell people all the time, that's why I still hang on to my DJI setup. It is an easy system to set up. It automatically connects with the controllers, everything. Just set it up. It connects satellites within 5 minutes, and it doesn't lose connection. I take that back. I've only lost connection once out of the 4 years I've used mine. And I've been out with my MLIT system, and other things are very sensitive. So you got to let them sit and cook for at least, I would say, on a real close setup, maybe 20 minutes. On a regular setup, an hour, that you really feel confident that thing's not going to lose off its fixed position. So there's a lot of things that goes into that. If you want more information about the MLIT system or how RTK with GNSS systems work, I encourage you to look up E38. They have a bunch of short 3 to 5 minute videos that will teach you everything you need to know, teach you how to set up a system, teach you how it actually works, and all the different ways that you can do it through Intrip. And also, if your system like mine has a SIM card in it, that you can set it up and it's self-sufficient. So those are my cheat sheets that I go to, and I say I have to go back and be reminded. Like I said, when you haven't used a piece of equipment in a couple of months, just like my drones, I have a fleet of drones. I don't fly the same drone month in and month out. So I need to make sure I do a little quick, recap or refresh of my own with my drones to make sure everything's good to go. Like I said, I do most of my solar work, the large ones, with the M30T. If I got something small, like a parking lot or a house, solar work, I break out the Mavic Enterprise Advance. It's smaller drone, quieter, gets in, gets out, compared to M30T. All right. Recently, I picked up a refurbished M300 with the P1 camera. I'm waiting to get that out in the field so I can see how great this thing is supposed to be in mapping, because I use the M3E and the M3M for mapping and agriculture work and stuff. So now I'm looking to do this drone, the M300, because it's supposed to be able to cut down my time to nearly in half. So, like I say, to get back to the first thing I was talking about, according to this last FCC filing, with this ban on some previous, they call DJI shell companies, you may be down to 30 days. And those drones will no longer be able to be sold here in the United States. And that's a retro ban they're talking about. So that means these drones have FCC approval stamped inside, but now that FCC is talking about they may strip them. Yeah, East Coast, that is a hope for me that I will get a contract with the city. I'd like to get one with the county also, being one of the largest counties in the United States, to be flying for them. So that's what I'll be working on. But like I said, I want to be in position with a little more control on my side of the fence, And that even means, like, recently talking about, not to get sidetracked too much, 4th of July. Fireworks are kind of going the way of the dodo here, especially in Southern California with wildfires and everything else. Police are using drones to direct officers to unlawful firework activity. So this year, even though I was out sick, I had sent an email to the captain that was running that and volunteered my services to assist. And so hopefully next year, I will be able to assist my local PD or sheriffs or whoever to be able to put that into play. Like I said, the M30T is the perfect drone for this type of activity. It has it all in one package, where you have the night vision, thermal vision, and the zoom factor is just extraordinary with this drone. So basically, they would never need to see me where I could see them. So that is becoming a big thing here in Southern California. And I'll tell this to anybody who is looking to get into drone work, commercial work, find out or make sure you do your homework of what is need in your community. Okay? There's no use trying to get a thermal drone for solar inspections when there's hardly any solar work in your area anyway. It's mandated here in Southern California, period. It's mandated on commercial buildings, and once you build a certain number of houses, it's mandated. So I knew 6-7 years ago, solar work was going to be a thing. And it's not just the brand new ones. These things need to be inspected almost every year. So that's continued work every year. So that's about it. So it's almost come up on an hour. I appreciate everyone coming in. Just ask a cozy drones thing about the Sky Rover. Yeah, the Sky Rover might be legal to have in the next 24 days. And I can say that's I tell you guys, go read this stuff, man. The devil's in the details. Go read this stuff for yourself. They talk about whoever makes the Sky Rover. I think it's Potenzic and whoever else is in that box of drones that look like the Mini 4 clones and Mini 5 clones. they have been accused of being DJI shell companies. So the FCC is really putting their boots on the drone community's neck. FAA is right along with them, kicking us in the rear end, and Border Protections is kind of smacking us in the face by not letting stuff come through the ports. So, like I said, we're taking a beating. We are truly taking a beating from several different agencies. So, as I always say, this is Dre, Recovery One Drones. Like I say, hang on, enjoy the ride. Life is a short one. So go out and have fun, but I encourage you to understand what you are doing out there so you can continue to do it as often as you like.